Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. It's time once again for me to make my top 10 games of the year. I think this year I'm actually going to make two top 10s. The one you're watching now for games that have actually come out throughout 2024, and then a separate one where I go over 10 games that have come out any year that I've beaten this year, because I've actually got through pretty much more games this year than I have for a long time, so it's worth sort of recognising and sort of giving my thoughts about older games as well, but that'll be a separate video. For now, we may as well get started on this episode, because it might be quite long, and you will see the cat walking around quite a lot. He'll probably just sit on my lap, hopefully, but anyway, let's get started. So first off, at number 10 we have Visions of Mana, which I was looking forward to quite a lot. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before I beat the previous game. What was it called? Anyway, it was the third game that was remastered on the Switch in 3D, and the name escapes me now, but it's another Mana title, and I really enjoyed that one. This one tried to take things in a bit more of an open world, free roaming manner, and I think that was actually to its detriment a little bit, because it just didn't feel as tight and well designed overall. I did like the characters, and visually it's stunning, even on the Steam Deck, which is where I played it. These bright colours really pop on a Steam Deck OLED screen. Sadly, it was not released on the Switch like the previous one was, which I think is a shame. It could have reached more people, and the sort of release of this game was tainted a little bit by the fact that Square Enix shut down the studio that made this game pretty much the day it was released, and let everyone go. So whether we'll see any more Mana games, it's hard to say. They could always just sort of get another studio to make it, because I don't know if any of the people who worked on this one were part of the original Secret of Mana team, but it's a shame regardless that had to happen. Square Enix have a sort of habit of developing all these big sequels to quite niche games really, and then having super high expectations for their sales and things which never pan out. Even for stuff like Tomb Raider, they were constantly bemoaning that it hadn't sold as much as they wanted it to, and I think Final Fantasy even has had the same fate, but that's still their sort of big cash cow series, so they won't be pulling the plug on that one at any time. But if this is the last Mana game, yeah, like I said, it will be a shame. And overall, I did enjoy it, but it just dragged on a bit too long, and a lot of the bosses and things were repeats from previous games, which is a bit lazy. They were pretty much the exact same 3D models from Trials of Mana. That's the name has come back to me now. But anyway, that's number 10, Visions of Mana. In second place, in ninth place we have Star Wars Outlaws, and now much has been made about this game's technical shortcomings, like graphics that are not quite as good as they should be, in animations and character models, but I thought it was fine all the way through. I never really encountered much in the way of bugs from beginning to end in my playthrough, and it's refreshing to have a Star Wars property that doesn't feature any Jedi whatsoever in its story. it really focuses on Vess, who is a sort of scoundrel character, and you do still go up against the Empire a little bit, and you will also come across the Rebellion, but there's no Jedi to speak of, at least in the main game. I'm not sure if there's any DLC because I haven't played that. And you're basically playing the different sort of smuggler factions against each other. So you've got the Hutt Cartel, and you've got Crimson Dawn, and a couple of others, and characters like Kira from Solo, that was played by Emilia Clarke. She makes an appearance. I think she is actually voiced by Emilia Clarke as well. But for some reason, unlike a lot of open world and Ubisoft games, this one didn't really compel me to do a lot of the side content. I did the main story and I did some of the side stuff, but there was a lot more still left to do on the map by the time I finished, and I didn't really feel an urge to do it all. It's probably for the best, because it can sort of burn you out on this sort of game if you try and do absolutely everything every single time. But what I did play, I did quite enjoy, so it's made its way into my 9th place game. So let's move on. In 8th place we have Tetris Forever, which is a collection of quite a few different Tetris games, 15 or so I think, maybe more. It says over 15 there. But for me the big appeal of this isn't really the Tetris games, because a lot of them aren't that fun, to be honest with you. This is the next game in the Digital Eclipse Gold Box series, and what that means is that they've recorded a whole ton of documentary footage. So there's loads of interviews and behind the scenes videos on here that you're seeing now in this trailer about this series, and it is fascinating. Of course, this story's been told several times already. There was it a Channel 4 or a BBC documentary that told it for the first time, and then there was the sort of fictional movie version that came out on Apple TV a couple of years ago, and now they're sort of going over the same stuff, but they still managed to unearth quite a lot of information that I hadn't heard of in the previous documentary. And so yeah, for that reason, it does make my list. I probably won't return to many of the versions of Tetris very often, apart from the brand new one they've made, Tetris Time Warp, which is quite clever. To be honest with you, I think I'd still rather play stuff like the original Game Boy Tetris, which isn't on here, than stuff like Bomb Bliss or stuff like that. Yeah, stuff like that. Hatris is on here, which I do quite like actually. But for this one, for me, wasn't really about the games themselves. It was about this documentary stuff, which will sort of keep you entertained for 4 or so hours as you go through all the timelines. But it's a sort of finite lifespan, really. I can't see myself rewatching it straight away. I might go back and rewatch this stuff years down the line, but for now I'm quite happy with my purchase, because it wasn't a big cost for that one. So moving on. In 7th place we have Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. Now, over the years I have sort of gathered up most of the Dragon Quest games on their 3DS or DS remakes and PS2 releases like Dragon Quest VIII, but I had never played the first 3 games in the trilogy, and now Square Enix are doing these gorgeous HD 2D remakes. They're starting with 3, and their reasoning for doing that is it's actually the beginning of the story chronologically, and then in 2025 they're going to release a double pack of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 together, which I will buy and play as well. Yeah, so aside from the really nice HD 2D artwork that they've added to this one, there are other nice things like voice acting in certain key scenes. It's not all the way throughout the game, but it does make it does improve the overall experience, and it's quite well done. And sort of extra classes, because this is the first game in the series that let you change your character class. And there's stuff like Monster Tamer, so you can go around and befriend tons of monsters in the game, and then have them call them out in battle, which is cool. But yeah, I just enjoyed experiencing a game in the Dragon Quest series that I hadn't yet played. But yeah, so that one will keep you playing for quite a long time, like 50 to 60 hours at least. So that's 7th place, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake. Now we have Dragon Age the Veilguard, which I have not quite finished yet. I've still got a few late stage chapters left to finish. While there's a lot of controversy about this one, mostly about incels getting upset that they dared to put a trans character in the game, which doesn't really bother me. I have now seen that scene recently, and it's a very short scene, and it's nothing really. But certain people will either get upset because they're bigots, or they're just sort of jumping on the bandwagon and making enraged videos for clicks. But that's by the by, really. It's only in 6th place for me because it doesn't quite match up to Dragon Quest Origins in particular, but the rest of the Dragon Quest series, Dragon Age series in general. So it doesn't match up to Origins really. And the reason being is it gets a bit repetitive. Every mission is really the same sort of thing. You go out and encounter one of the enemy factions, be it Venatori or Undead or a High Dragon or something, and the combat gets a bit samey. It is fun and challenging, and I've enjoyed it more the further I've got in. Initially, I was struggling quite a bit because I've chosen a rogue class, and they like to sort of swarm you with enemies. But after a while, you get used to using your companions to target the high-powered enemies, and I pick off sort of ranged enemies first with my bow skills, because I've got quite a strong bow now. And to be honest, the sort of controversy has sort of gotten to me a little bit. It just sort of takes the fun out of trying to enjoy this game when there's so many people telling you that it's crap, which it isn't. It's deserving of its place on my top 10, but there are 5 other games that I just enjoyed more this year. So it's a shame, and I hope the all this fuss doesn't mean that it's the last game in the series, but I'm afraid it might. I don't know what the sales have been like for BioWare. For a time, it was the best-selling game on Steam, which is encouraging, but I think the sales might have fallen off quite a bit. The more negativity is surrounding it. So we'll have to see if there are any more entries in this series after this one, but if not, then it's not a bad way to go out. I mean, I haven't seen how it concludes yet, but I have been fairly satisfied with what they've done. It does look gorgeous, even on a Xbox Series X. I'd imagine it's much the same on the PS5 if you play it there. Really nice lighting. The characters that they brought back with a different art style is a bit weird. Like Harding was in Inquisition, but she looks very different now. And one other thing that does annoy me a little bit is the fact that they haven't done anything like the Keep, like they did in Inquisition, to bring over your choices and characters from previous games. You can recreate your Inquisitor, but I struggled to get them to look much like my actual Inquisitor did, which is a shame, really. Sort of takes you out of the game a little bit when it doesn't resemble the character you made. But anyway, let's move on now. So that was 6th place, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Number 5 is Balatro, or Balatro. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, really. But this was quite an early discovery, if you like, in 2024. And I came about it because I watch a lot of Giant Bomb content, and Jan on there was a big fan of this game. And having a Steam Deck now, it seemed like a good place to play this game. So I purchased it on Steam, and I've played it quite a lot. And at its heart, it is poker, sort of Texas Hold'em rules poker, but that's really just the beginning. You get to add all these Joker cards to your deck, which really change the way you play the game. They can do things like multiply the value of your cards exponentially, and they sort of stack. So I think you can have five Jokers by default, and more if you have Jokers that actually let you have more Jokers, if you see what I mean. And the goal is to reach a certain score by the end of the round to proceed on to the next stage, and it gets exponentially higher. So you're adding all sorts of cards, like tarot cards and these Joker cards that I've talked about. So even something like, for example, a pair, which is not worth very much at all in real poker, could be worth like hundreds or thousands of points if you level up your pair skill, for example. So you can make typically low scoring hands suddenly score loads, and then with the use of Jokers you can sort of multiply that through the roof and sort of shatter the goals. I haven't managed to beat it yet, which is sort of getting all the way through to the last big blind and scoring enough to proceed, but I am still enjoying it quite a lot, and it's one that you can return to and just pull out and play whenever you have got some spare time to kill. And it's on mobile now as well, so you could even just sort of have it on your phone and play it. So that is 5th place, Balatro. So now we have our 4th place game, which is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And at the beginning of the year, this was one of my sort of most anticipated games, and I would have predicted it would be higher on my list really, but it's only managed to come in at 4th place because, to be honest with you, I think it's overlong, and I didn't really enjoy what they did with the ending. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's a bit vague overall, and really doesn't tell you much other than sort of making you wait for part 3. It's really just sort of a hook to make sure that you buy the next game to find out how things conclude. I did really enjoy a lot of this game, sort of roaming through the open world, but I don't know if it's because I was determined to do every single side quest, but by the end of the time spent with it, I just had enough of it, to be honest with you. There was a point where you think you're about to finish, and then it adds a whole load of more sort of quests all across the world, and when that happened, I just sort of sighed. I think I stopped playing for that day, but I did come back and do all those quests eventually, and then the ending itself, sort of like the final dungeon and stuff after it, was a sort of massive time investment in itself, like 3 or 4 hours at least, just to plough through the end stuff. So yeah, to be honest with you, Final Fantasy VII has never been my favourite game in the series. I do need to give it credit because it's one of 2 games that really got me started playing turn-based JRPGs. The other one being the original Wild Arms on the PS1. But I have enjoyed games that came out since more, in particular Final Fantasy X. That was one of my favourites, and even 9 with its more sort of fantasy, light-hearted approach was preferable to me. But I do really like certain aspects of this game. I think the voice actor who plays Barrett did an amazing job, and I was enjoying Red 13's voice until it suddenly changed and became annoying. If you play the game, you'll find out what I mean. But yeah, it is deserving of quite a high place in the top 10 still, despite my misgivings. But I can't give it a top 3 place. So that is number 4, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Third place is Astrobot, which may surprise some, but seeing as it's just been given Game of the Year at the Game Awards. But although I did have a ton of fun and pretty much have a smile on my face all the way through, there just are a couple of other games that I just enjoyed more. It's that simple, really. It was, yeah, really good fun sort of going through this game. One of my sort of downsides though is the difficulty just isn't there for most of the game. It's still good fun despite not being very challenging, but I just feel like it could have been a bit. Most of the levels could have had a bit more challenge to them. Stuff like the shape stages, the symbol stages, did have a bit more challenge to them, but most of them were quite short. It wasn't until the sort of final Grandmaster challenge, which took me an entire afternoon to beat, that I feel that I really sort of got my teeth into something. But that doesn't take away too much from the game. It's still just really fun, sort of finding all the bots and seeing which franchises they've brought back. I do think it's one of the best games this year, and I am quite happy that it's had the recognition it has and been given a game award. But I hope there are more games in this series, or if they bring back Ape Escape or something as well. But that is third place for me, Astrobot. Now, if you've watched last year's top 10, you probably won't be too surprised to see a Like a Dragon game so high in my top 10. This is the latest one that came out quite early in 2024, Infinite Wealth, which was mostly set in Hawaii and unites the original protagonist with the sort of new protagonist, Ichiban and Kiryu together, finally. This is quite a sprawling game as well. I think I spent about 120 hours all in all doing all the sort of optional labyrinth dungeons and everything. And I did enjoy it. The story didn't quite stick the landing that I hoped it would, because I think I really wish they gave Kiryu sort of they let him go really, but they still seem really sort of attached to dragging him back into the series again, and yeah, so he is in the game. You sort of at a certain point you have sort of two parties in two countries. You've got Ichiban's party in Hawaii, and you've got Kiryu's party back in Japan, and you sort of alternate like that. So it is quite a sprawling story, and as you'd expect, it's crammed full of mini games again, including one that's basically Pokemon. Well, it's called Sujimon, where you can enlist NPCs in your party and use them, and another one called Dondoko Island, which is similar to Animal Crossing, where you tidy up an island and you have visitors, and yeah, it's sort of like a life management sim. And Dondoko Island was a huge amount of fun. I must have spent probably 20 of my 120 hours just doing that sort of side game. So yeah, this is up there with the best games of the year for me. The story didn't quite have the ending I wanted it to, and now they're going to be doing another spin-off this year. Next year, 2025. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. If you are a fan of the Yakuza series, or Like a Dragon series as it's called now, this is a must-buy, I have to say. Yeah, get it. So that's second place, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And now, this could come as another surprise, because I really don't hear many people talking about this game at all, but my game of the year is Mario and Luigi Brothership. I know certain individuals have actually bounced off this game quite quickly, but I think if you don't push sort of past the sort of opening hour where it's full of tutorials, then you're not seeing the best this game has to offer by a long stretch. I did find the beginning a little bit slow, but I was still enjoying it. It's sort of classic Mario and Luigi gameplay with the usual sort of active time battle stuff, where you have to press the button at the right time to do extra damage or defend. But the more you get into it, the more it opens up. You initially your sort of island ship travels really slowly, and it can be a bit frustrating. But after you're sort of through the first world, you get the ability to speed up your ship, and yeah, that frustration goes away. They probably should have given you that a little bit earlier, to be honest, because it does take quite quite a long time to just sort of get through the first cluster of islands and the first major lighthouse. I overall I really enjoyed the story. It's light-hearted, as these games usually are, but it was interesting to me, and I like all the new little characters that they've introduced in this new world of Concordia, where everyone resembles electric plugs. There's lots of electricity puns throughout the game. Also, certain folks have said the graphics are ugly compared to the older games, and I don't agree. It does depend if you like this sort of stylized cell shaded approach or not, but I really liked it, and the vibrant colours look really great on the OLED, and I didn't encounter much in the way of performance issues. I know some have said that the frame rate is a bit sketchy at times, but I didn't really notice that, to be fair with you, and it's nothing that impacts gameplay to any major degree. And the puzzles are still quite fun, and the islands themselves never outstay their welcome. They're fairly brief for the most part until you get to one of the major sort of boss islands, which is the lighthouses, and then it goes on for an hour or so. But yeah, this was a great fun. I spent many commutes on my way home from London playing this game. And it took about 50 hours to beat, so it wasn't too long, but I definitely felt like I got my money's worth out of it. Yeah, in terms of the overall Mario and Luigi series, I think it's up there. It probably doesn't beat stuff like the original Superstar Saga or Bowser's Inside Story, but I thought this developer, I think it's Acquire, made a very good entry in the series, and yeah, that is my game of the year. So before I sign off, I'm going to go over a few quick honourable mentions. So my first honourable mention is here because I just didn't finish it. Something else distracted me, and I didn't go back to Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. But it's a really interesting game. The sort of gothic stylings of it and horror nature of it were really interesting. And basically, you play as a pair of Banishers who are sort of in charge of sending ghosts back where they belong. They can either sort of release the spirit peacefully, or they can forcefully banish the ghost, which sort of causes them a lot of pain, but is necessary if they're sort of destructive or rage-filled ghosts. I'm just going to move this cat. And the gameplay is fairly similar to one of the recent God of War games, to be honest. Very early on, one of your two characters gets turned into a ghost herself, and then that sort of gives you sort of ghost powers from that point on. It's not a huge spoiler because it happens quite soon, but if you see this game in a sale, it's really worth checking out. So that's my first honourable mention, Banishers. Number 2 is Zenless Zone Zero, which I've been playing on my PS5 quite recently. So this is the next game from HioVerse, who made Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. And this one is more of a sort of action game. The levels are short, and you're sort of beating up creatures from corrupted creatures, and sort of in between that there are stages that resemble a sort of board game with tiles where you move from tile to tile, and some of them are sort of battle scenes, some of them are collectibles like gold or other things. It's fun. The combat gameplay resembles something like Devil May Cry, but it's far less challenging than anything in that series. It's more of a casual game. You can check it out for free. It does try and sort of get its hooked into you for real money, so that you can unlock other characters with its sort of gacha systems like the other games that they've made. But you don't have to engage with that at all if you don't want to, and I haven't personally put any money in it, but I've still enjoyed it quite a lot. It looks really good on the PS5 and plays well. So that is Zenless Zone Zero. And then my final honourable mention is Helldivers 2. I've really just put it here and not in my top 10 because I didn't play it enough. I'm not really a big online gamer, but I did play this for a few hours with other people. It was always with random people online. It was never with people I knew, which probably would have made me enjoy it quite a lot more if I actually got a chance to play it with a team of friends. But it's still decent fun with strangers, if you ask me, because you can sort of tag things and warn people just with the in-game mechanics that you're dropping things. You will get blown up by your teammates and blow them up yourself or shoot them, because that's just the way the game is designed. There is collateral damage, but you sort of just can't let that upset you too much. Things happen in war, and it's good fun regardless. The sort of satirical Starship Troopers style humour is good fun. There's loads of things to unlock, and they're still constantly adding different things. Like they've just added a whole new faction which I haven't seen yet. But it's a really good sequel to the original Helldivers, which was a top-down game going full 3D. But yeah, that's my final honourable mention of the year. So that concludes my top 10 games of the year, with a few bonuses. The next video will be my top 10 old games that I've played through this year. So watch out for that in a day or two. But in the meantime, take care.